Well, we're back again for CNBT 1311. We're starting Chapter 7. I am going to reiterate that the perfect wall, roof, floor, or slab must be structurally sound, it must be moisture resistant and or proof, vapor resistant and or proof, airflow controlled, resistant and or proof. That means transmission of air through the wall, roof, floor, or slab, and thermal bypass control, resistant and or proof, and sound transmitting controlled. This career path is not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of moving parts into making a good habitable structure for humans or for industry. This chapter has 50 pages in it. We will try to make this as painless as possible. There's a lot of moving parts in this subject. All right, let's move on. If you don't get anything at all out of this, these things have to be rain, water, vapor, thermal, and structurally sound, and sound transmission, etc., etc. Roof materials provide the water resistant. Well, no kidding. All right? These things have to be flashed on the end to keep that drip from dripping down on the fascia and back up underneath. Right? We've already talked about that. That was a detail in the other chapter. With the closed eave and even an open eave. Even a flat roof. There's no such thing as a true flat roof. They've got to be sloped to some extent to get the water off of it. You got to prevent the water from leaking back up underneath here and rotting out your underlayment. Flashing is a big deal. You screw that flashing up and you're going to have major problems. The Cypress Center has flashing issues. That's why the roof leaks so bloody much. Exterior walls. We've talked about in the wall details where we had them cavity walls in masonry and water dripping down through here with flashing intermittent in there, assuming this was a cavity wall, with the weep holes. And the problem with weep holes, if the water can get out, the water can get in. So if Missy comes in, or Bubba, who doesn't know, come here from Sikkim, starts building landscaping up out here because he wants a nice little pretty flower bed up against the house, which is ignorant. In my opinion, it ought to be a law to have a membrane out here about 2 to 3 feet away from the edge of the house with river rock in it. And then if you want a nice pretty flower bed, you can build that out here as long as it slopes away from the building. The dumbest thing you can do, which they did at the Cypress Center, is they built the outside landscaping up higher than the finished floor slab. Now, where do you think the water's going to go? Well, duh, it's going to go into the building. And that's why that lower floor in a lot of places leaks. You think I was preaching about this stuff, don't you? All right, well, I am. It's just ignorant. Moisture normally is normally present in any interior spaces. Humans throw out water vapor when we exhale, okay? And we cook. We have bathrooms. We have showers. That's why your bathroom area needs to have a vent in it. When I redid my bathroom, I took the rule of thumb for the normal air exchange and I doubled it, put a bigger fan in there. And I have a window in that bathroom, so I can open that window and suck fresh air into there to get that water vapor out of there. When we did the upstairs bathroom, we redid all the windows in the house years ago from Gulf Coast windows, which are argon-filled, double pane, super stud windows, foam-filled PVC frames, blah, 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 blah. The salesman said, well, we can just put a fixed window up here. And I said, not in my house, you're not. These things are going to be open windows, sliding open. so we can vent this bathroom. And we've got insulation in here, and not all insulation is insulation. It all works great in the beginning. This stuff tends to settle down and pack down over the years, and it degrades. How do you get in there and re-insulate it? Good luck. There are companies that make gazillion dollars a year convincing you they can come in and re-insulate your house with foam from the outside. Some are good, some are just chucks in a truck. This detail is cedar shake. You put that on my house, I'm going to fire you. We'll talk more about cedar shake in a minute. The potential heat loss. Thermal transmission going out and thermal transmission going in. This stuff flows two ways, right? Building's important factor when estimating the amount of mechanical equipment. Well, what we do is we come in and we do a heat loss. And then we have to do an air balance when we're doing mechanical systems in a structure. We have an R factor and a heat exchange rate going in and out through the temperature cycle of the year, and then we have to size the number of BTUs, which stands for British Thermal Units. BTUs. That's Boy Tom Union. Boy Tom Unit, British Thermal Unit, BTU. Rule of thumb is humans kick out 1,500 BTUs per hour. That doesn't include the moisture that we're kicking out, just sitting on your duff. All right. You have to have vapor retarders or vapor barriers. You've probably seen them. That's the white wrap that they wrap around it. Tyvek's one of the manufacturers. We used to use tar paper. But the tree huggers are all ate up over tar paper because it's made out of tar. Okay, y'all are all responsible for all of this. I'm not reading this word for word. Building materials expand. We've already talked about expansion and contraction. We talked about it in framing. We talked about it in slabs on grade, concrete slabs. If you don't provide in masonry, if you don't provide a place for this stuff to expand, you're going to have problems. They expand and they contract. So if you're going to put in some kind of elastomeric sealant, like a polydisulfide sealant in here, and of course there's going to be a backer rod in here, you're going to be filling the wall full of your sealant. This stuff has to, through its life cycle, has to be able to expand and contract. And the more expansion and contraction occurs, at some point in time you'll have to go in and reseal your structure. All right, here's some rules of thumb for overlapping. Okay, this is the underlayment. This is what goes onto the wood decking on a roof. 4-inch side lap, 2-inch top lap. Lay your underlayment 6 inches on both sides of hips and ridges. Roofers do this sometimes they don't. They'll come up here and put a ridge cap, ridge vent up here, or they'll cut ridge shingles. Then we have our side flashing. This is a drip edge, okay? Corrosion resistant metal, all right? A lot of people are using aluminum now because you can get it anodized in different colors. And here's a drip ledge down here, okay? You need to know all these terms and stuff like that. Eave flashing, we know what an eave is. It's the flashing up underneath the eave here, where there's an overhanging edge, or it's just a flush. Remember what this would be called? That'd be a gable. On normal slopes of roof, the eave flashing consists of 2 layers of 15-pound felt. I disagree with this. You better be using metal flashing over the felt. You bring a felt over, you bring another layer in, and then you put your flashing down, and then your roof covering goes over that flashing. Cheap roofs will use a 1.5 to 2 inch flashing. If you can afford it, it's best to bring this back 6 inches. This leg of the flashing, 6 inches. Um, your building codes will vary. Um, your client will vary. On normal slope roofs, the E-flash consists of 2 layers of 15-pound felt. That's the felt flashing that goes up. It's 2 layers laying across the end, then you put the metal flashing over it. On low slope roof, an additional course of underlayment is cemented in place. Well, it's glued down with an adhesive, roll-on adhesive, and then lay it down. Let's see. This course is not going to teach you to be a roofer. Okay. This is asphalt cement's what we're talking about. It comes in a bucket. It's nasty. Gets all over you. And you lay it down with rollers. All right, let's go down here. Underlayment and sheathing for shingle roofs. As far as the sake of this course goes, this is gospel. In the real world, your mileage is going to vary. I guarantee it. 15-pound asphalt saturated felt. That's what we call tar paper. Okay. Normal slope is 4 and 12 and up. 4 and 12 and up, you do a single layer. Low slope, if it's a low slope, then it's going to be a double layer. Wood shingles. You put wood shingles on my house, I'm going to fire you. You put wood shakes on the side of my house, I'm going to fire you. These are nothing but fire hazards. State of Texas, many, many years ago, made a state law that no longer can an HOA, a homeowners association, require a homeowner to maintain wood shingles on their roof. And wood shakes fall in with a court case also. The insurance people backed that and forced it. When I bought my house in about 50-year-old house, I bought that thing in when was it? 98. Yeah, 98. It had cedar shingles, wood shingles, and luckily for me, we got a hailstorm in within 2 months of moving in, and broke up a bunch of cedar shakes. Of course, I had bundles of them. I'd get up there. I was younger then. I could get up on the roof and repair all that stuff. But when I had a roofing contractor come out and give me an estimate, insurance paid for the whole roof, and they were happy to get rid of that wood because of the fire hazard. And the homeowner's insurance went down when I put composition shingles up there. The cedar shingles were removed all the way to the purlins, and then the wood decking was laid over the purlins, and then conventional wood composition shingles. The total price back then was $5,000. I think I paid $250 because the insurance picked everything up. Back then, just even a couple of years ago, a conventional roof would cost you about, of cedar shingles, not cedar shingles, my God, if I say that again, I'm going to slap myself. Composition shingles would be about $5,000 to $6,000. I just had mine replaced a couple of years ago, and it was $15,000. The price of all those materials has gone up since COVID. So what was a $5,000 to $6,000 roofing job is now $15,000 to $16,000 and up. All right. Wood shakes and wood shingles, they look real pretty for some people. Architectural Digest make pretty pictures of them, but they are a freaking fire hazard. Stay away from them. Actually, my favorite roof is a standing seam metal roof, but that's for another story. All right, maximum recommended exposure for shingle grade and length. Your mileage is going to vary. Number 1, 2, or 3. These are the lengths of the shingles and the roof slopes. Again, this is a rule of thumb. Your building codes and perhaps HOA requirements, and if it's a residence, might have something different to say about that. Your roofing company, if you get a good one that knows what they're doing, can give you good advice, and the shingle manufacturers, whether it's Corning or any of those that are reputable manufacturers. I'm not even going to talk about red cedar shingles. Um, I put on a lot of red cedar shingle roofs and cedar shake siding. My first house when I graduated from A&M was over in Oak Forest. I think that thing was built in the early 50s. And on the garage extension, it had wood shake. And I was gone longer than I should have, and the dogs decided they wanted to eat the cedar shakes off the first two rows of the garage. I came home, I was some upset. Went down to Bering Lumberyard, got a bunch of cedar shake and reinstalled all of them. The dogs knew that they were in some kind of trouble. Use only corrosion-resistant nails. Well, that goes without saying for any kind of roofing. This is a detail of how cedar shingles are laid up. Here are your purlins. These are your purlins. I don't care what he calls them. That's what they are. They're 1x4s that go across the roof rafters. You can see that here. Here's your roof rafters. Here are your purlins. When you strip these roofs, you come in here with big spades, shovels, you start pulling all these shingles off. And then you just lay the wood underlayment decking right over the top of these purlins. Nail them all down, and makes for a super good diaphragm roof. And then lay the composition shingles on. More rules of thumb for minimum for flashings and laps and stuff like that. These chimneys or any of the openings that come through your roof, the devil's in the details. I've told you all that before. You've got to detail out the flashing for these things. You get a lot of water coming down through here, and you get water leaks in mitigation. This is how you do a hip application with these shingles. Composition shingles are not much different, except you cut the shingles and you make a hip or a ridge set of shingles that go over, and then you nail into here and stagger them back. I hate cedar shingles. Oh my God, do I hate wood shingles. You do your client a very bad disservice. While wood shingles are sawn, wood shakes are formed by splitting a short log. Again, this is old style. We have much better roofing material, and we're going to move on away from all this garbage. Have y'all got the point to understand that I really hate wood shake and wood cedar shingles, or any kind of wood shingle? You might as well just set a torch to the house in the first place. Composition shingles. This is good for a 15 to 20 year roof. You can get them in all manner of shapes and sizes, and everybody's got their own way of doing the recipe. Or they're either inorganic fiberglass. I don't know what fiberglass is organic, but anyway. But they had based in an organic felt-based surface of the water side, and you can get it all kind of color, and ceramic granules, different colors, and different weights, and different styles. This is a random edge cut. This is a laminated overlay. This is your typical shingles that you get at the big box stores, or a 3-tab butt. There's even a company that makes metal composition shingle looking roofs, and you lay them metal shingles up over the purlins. Does he have a detail of that? No, he doesn't. Let's go back up to this one. Where is it? There it is. All right. You'd lay your decking over this, and then those metal ones, they go over just like regular shingles, except they're in like 3-foot lengths. They tongue and groove interlap with one another. They're screwed down, and they claim they can get 20 to 25 year guarantee out of those. I got on the roof that I just replaced, I think that was 15. No, it was going on almost 20 years, I think. Yeah, 20 years from when we moved into the house. That 15-year roof lasted. That's asking a lot down here in the heat on the Gulf Coast. Let's see. Here's some recommended aspect ratios. And you overlap them just like you would brick. Again, you want the joints. This would be a half shingle. Another shingle be started over here. You watch these roofing guys get up there in all the weather. And I'm not going to teach you to be a roofer. You can watch all kinds of YouTube videos on how to install, much better than this book's going to show you, on the proper way of installing roofs. In fact, I would recommend you take a little peruse through. I spent 15 days in Scotland. They still use a lot of slate over there for their roofs. They're expensive. They're heavy. They look cool. They last a long, long time. It's extremely durable. It's fire resistant, not fireproof. You can get something hot enough to destroy anything. And they're a low maintenance roofing material. They're split, trimmed, and drilled to receive copper nails or wire ties. Most of them are copper nail. The ones over in the UK and Scotland, they use copper nails. And some of those slate roofs are hundreds of years old. They are heavy. They can weigh from 800 to 3,600 pounds per square roof area. They're heavier than normal. Roof framing or decking is therefore required. That's because it's stone. You're sticking stone up there. It's like the Mexican tile. My mother-in-law's got a Mexican tile roof on her house in San Antonio. It looks really cool. It's expensive to repair. It weighs more than a conventional composition shingle roof, but it looks cool. It's all blingy, and she's all into the bling, and I love her dearly. But slate's like that. It's extremely heavy, but it's durable. All right. Again, the scope of this course is not to teach you to be roofing installers. Now you see they're putting the slate over purlins. Here's the roof joist. Here's the purlins, and then those things are nailed and stacked on top of one another. There is a propensity for airflow to go up underneath each one of these into the attic space. So if you're not putting solid decking down, and your professional slate installers will have different recommendations on what you can and cannot do. But most of them are done like this, slate roofs. They do add a lot of dead load, lots of dead load to your structure. Tile roofing. I just talked to you about my mother-in-law's high-fired clay roof. There are companies that make these out of composite material, cementitious, so it's not as expensive to manufacture as a traditional clay roof, and they come in long sheets just like those metal-looking fake composition shingle roofs. And they lay them in. But the normal way of doing a traditional Mexican tile roof, well, I call it a Mexican tile, Spanish tile, whatever, they've been around for hundreds of years, is you cement these things in. Now, what happens to cement over the life cycle of the structure? It's going to end up cracking, right? It can't help itself. It just cannot help itself. because the expansion, especially down here in the heat. So there's some maintenance that has to take place. Um, these are called fill tiles. These are a cover or starter unit, and yes, they're manufactured with the coping on it, just the curve. And these are your ridge cover units. Okay. Eave closure units to close off the eaves, and so here's a Mission or Spanish tiles. They're tapered semicircular roofing tiles laid convex, side up to overlap planking. Similar tiles laid concave side up. So they just start laying them in and stacking them like that. Here's another term. Pantels have an S-shaped cross section so that they kind of hook into one another instead of these just stacking up in here. All right. Let's see. So here's another terminology. The limbricks laid convex. This is the limbricks. These are called pintles. Interlocking tiles are flat and rectangular. Shingle tiles are flat. They look like a flat shingle, and they've got grooves underneath the bottom. This is how they do the eave closure. Remember, this is the eave. If we were going to close off the eave, then we'd have a soffit underneath here, right? Okay. Here's how to do the roof. Termination at the top with the flashing. Devil's in the details. You get this wrong, that thing's going to leak forever. Here's your ridge. And you'll see roofing felt. Vegetative roofing, earth-covered structures. There's an old architect, crazy old man, named Malcolm Wells. Malcolm Wells. He was old when he visited me when I was a youngster at Texas A&M University. Malcolm Wells, earth-covered structures. He was real big into earth-covered structures, earth-covered houses. Go Google him. His houses stayed approximately 68 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. It's just like a dugout on the prairie or a big old adobe structure. The Anasazi in southwestern United States, the forerunners of the Navajo and the Zuni, and countless other offshoots of tribes, they would have their adobe houses up in those caves, up in those overhangs, right, in the mountains. And it could be 115 degrees down in the valley during the summer, but up there in those caves, they're running about 70 degrees to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. During the winter, it'd be freezing cold down there, but when they lit the fires in their living structure up there, those walls would heat up and stay warm. There are three types of vegetated roofing systems: intensive, extensive, and modular block. I expect you to read all of this. We don't have a whole lot of earth-covered structures down here for obvious reasons. Intensive, extensive, and modular block systems. And obviously, you're probably thinking, oh, what kind of goober would put dirt and stuff over their structure? Well, as long as, and these are expensive to build, as you can imagine, as compared to conventional construction for a residence, but you have to worry about wicking your water away, And this talks about all of that: your sheet barrier, your retention layer, your filter fabric. It prevents the fine-grained soils from being washed away. Your lightweight engineered soil, and the mix of plants. And you got to pick your plants right. I mean, you know, stick an oak tree up there, right, with them big old nasty roots, or a pine tree that's got a tap root that goes to China. Okay. Um, you got a waterproofing membrane, and you're sitting there going, "Oh, stop it, my head hurts." And you got your supporting structure. Now, if earth weighs approximately 150 pounds cubic foot, just like concrete, then that's a dead load, right? And if you get it saturated with water, now you got 62.4 pounds cubic foot of water that's saturated into that soil. Um, so all this has to be designed from the get-go. You just can't say, you know what, I'm gonna get some sod and throw it up on the roof of my house and be done with it, because it's not gonna work. I know I'm being silly. Um, Obviously, it's the easiest to create on low slope roofs. Most of, if not all of Malcolm Wells's old structures, if I remember correctly, were flat roofed, with a, well, quote unquote flat. Okay, um, and but look up Malcolm Wells's earth covered structures. You don't see a lot of those down here. I don't know of any, as a matter of fact, um, for obvious reasons. Um, he was quite an interesting old man. He came to visit us at A&M in our engineering and architecture program a couple of times in my tenure there. Quite an interesting fellow. Um, all right, corrugated metal roofing is just what it is. This is not your daddy's barn roofing. This is your daddy and grandpa's barn roofing. Man, I stuck a lot of this heavy corrugated metal up on barns. Um, they come in different patterns and different shapes and different ways to adhere them to a structure. You can use wood or metal purlins. Um, did he even show this to you here? Um, no, he did not. Um, no, but these are your purlins, and they can be metal Z-strips, coal formed, um, or they can be wood. Uh, The issue is, how are you going to attach all of this? In a traditional, this is called a rake flashing. This is your rake. Remember the side that comes down off the hip roof, or the high pointy roof, your ridge. Um, doesn't have to be a hip roof. Uh, um, is Anyway, the challenge here is, how are you going to fasten this and keep the fasteners um, watertight over the life cycle? They make special self-tapping fasteners. Boy, that's an ugly drawing. Jeez. Yeah, don't hire me to be your drafter. Um, and then underneath here is an elastomeric washer. And these are fine for about the first 15 years. And then that elastomeric, especially down here in the heat, ends up starting to degrade. So then you got to come up here and then coat the roof, or come up here and individually spot these with some sort of waterproofing caulking or something. And you have to come back and periodically retighten these down. Um, Especially if it's wood. If it's going into metal, that's not such a problem, like metal purlins. But if it's wood, um, they'll tend to get a little loose in wood lathing. Again, your mileage is going to vary. There's a better way of attaching these, but it's more expensive. Um, of course, in this type of profile, your choice is only to fasten in the valleys, right? The flat spots. So as the water runs down through here, there's a propensity for that to mitigate. Some architects, there's one in Austin that uses these metal roofs a lot, and his purlins are at an angle, believe it or not, so he can get airflow between the wood decking which has a waterproof membrane on it, to get airflow over this. And then the roof becomes almost like a tent fly on your mountaineering tent. Everybody knows what a tent fly is, right? Here's your tent. Some people call them a rain fly. And then there's another tent that goes over it with an airspace in between so that there's an airflow in here, and then the rain hits this, and this is usually a heavy waterproof as opposed to the breathable fabric of your tent. So, and that's essentially what he's doing, okay? And in Austin, he does that for walls too, believe it or not, to get some airflow between the exterior wall skin and the interior insulation, or the exterior insulation on the studs and the vapor barrier. There are countless profiles. These aren't the only profiles available, okay? Now, Ching does show you drilling, or screwing actually, through the flat part right here, okay? And if your corrugated metal is of such strength, in other words, heavy enough gauge to handle that, that's fine. The problem with this is as you torque these down, it tends to flatten this out. It tends to push it out, as you can see, okay? So you got to watch for deformation in this. Most of these roofers like to come in here on the valley, okay? But if the system is designed as such, then, and this is heavy enough gauge, and you watch your torque pressure, then this is a preferred method of doing it, because as I showed you up here, down here in the valley, you'll have your most water mitigation. All right? So, if you can get by with having it done like this, that's fine. But there again, your purlins are going to be underneath here, right? Your purlins will be underneath here running this way. So you're going to have this air gap, this space between here and the depth of your purlin. What kind of grip are you going to get? So if this is an inch riser, then you got an inch that there's nothing for that fastener to attach to. So your fasteners have to be much, much longer. And then again, like I said, your torque will have a tendency to push this out and deform your metal roof. And you'll run into propensity of dimpling this, and the dimple will create a little bathtub. And here's your screw in here. And then as it rains, then water will stand in here and try to mitigate through. So you got to be careful. Best thing to do is get with your metal roofing manufacturer. They will have recommended methods of attaching that they want to make sure that their product that they're selling you on your job is installed properly and will last as long as possible. Okay. All right, this is corrugated metal roofing. This is sheet metal roofing, and I don't think, let's see, standing seams, that's for flat. They do make a corrugated system that is a standing seam. The joint seams are like these down here. I am a big proponent, or an advocate, let's put it that way, of a standing seam roof. These things are locked in place, and there are many, many different types of standing seams. All right, and each other, and folding their upper portion. And what a lot of these companies will do, and they have various prefabricated deals, and they'll run a swedger, looks like a little trolley, up through here to squeeze that standing seam, and that gives you a contiguous flat roof sheathing without all the little holes punched in it for the fasteners. Okay, all these are over an underlayment and roofing felt and decking. All right, and there's all kinds of ways you can do this. Your imagination is only holding you back. Get with these manufacturers, research standing seam roofs. Um, this is one where the seams are laid horizontal, and I'm not a big advocate. I am not a big advocate for this. Okay, um, this will give you the biggest bang for your buck. These things can come out in full-length panels. They can go up. Um, the next one's stuck down in it, overlapped it, and but you do have to fasten these in between somehow. So the best standing seam roofs are the ones that have the fasteners like this attached. This is a good detail here. These are what I call prefabricated. He calls them that. Where the batten seams are available from the metal roofing manufacturers. This all comes as a system, and what this basically is a batten. So this leg, if you're looking at it in section, looks like this. Is much better. Then you take this sheet from over here. These are screwed in to the purlins. This one sheet comes over. The next sheet comes over and goes on down the way. Now, these are flat. These go down flat. And then you take that machine and you swedge this together. And sometimes they'll have an overcap that they'll put over here, an extra cap. And then they run this roller swedger. Well, I can't draw. With a swedging machine. And it's electric. It's on trolley. It acts like a trolley. It uses the rib as a trolley. This is the machine. And this thing rolls up this joint and squishes all that together. High pressure. High pressure. This is your best, in my opinion. Your best bang for the buck. It makes a good contiguous seam. The problem with something like this is heavy winds coming up on here and lifting this. It's hard to get these. You can't really run that roller on these, no matter how well you interlock them. Heavy winds. This, you got to win. The only thing you got to worry about your eaves. Your eave wind. The wind coming up here under your eaves and lifting this edge and trying to peel the roof up. But since these Z-strips are nailed on those purlins, okay, or nailing strips, what do I call them? Purlins. It doesn't matter. And I wouldn't nail them. I'd screw them. I'd spec it to be screwed, or you will get screwed. And so you can put an eave cap. And the thing about going to a manufactured system is they have all of your flashing, and they have all of your flashing and your eave flashing, your cap flashing at the same profile of the metal panels that you're buying. Okay? So you're not going to Tractor Supply and just buying some corrugated metal, throw on a barn. All right? Flat roof assemblies. Let's look at our time. We're at 44. Flat roofing assemblies. Flat roofs have been around since the dawn of time. There are so many types of flat roofing. Laid down membranes, where it's just one giant sheet of rubber that's glued and adhered to the thermal insulation on the deck. Flat roofs have to have a walking surface. This is your wear course. Some commercial buildings will not let the mechanical people get anything off of the wear course. They don't want them to tear up the roof membrane. Old style was to come up here with hot tar. Those big tar buckets dragged behind those trucks, and then mop tar up here on layers and layers of felt, and then throw the gravel up in here. If I'm not mistaken, after one of the hurricanes years ago, downtown Houston, the city of Houston outlawed tar and gravel roofs in downtown because the hurricane winds would come up here, and let's just say over here on this side, across the alleyway, was one of those nice skyscrapers with glass wall, okay, curtain wall. So the hurricane would come and pick up the gravel off of the older building and throw the gravel like buckshot out of a shotgun into these glass curtain walls, and you had sheets and sheets of glass all over downtown Houston. I don't remember which hurricane that was. It was the one that just came through here with a lot of high wind, and it went right across downtown Houston. After that, the building code got changed. Again, the wear surfaces. There are a lot of commercial buildings that they have these up on the roof that go to the rooftop units and the air conditioning units, and they will not let anybody off of these wear paths. In fact, they won't even let you lift the old air conditioning unit, the rooftop unit, off and set it on this roof, even if you put decking up there, because these wear surfaces are engineered to protect the roof membrane. Let's see. There are every conceivable form of insulation. This is this would be in a residential section, a residential type. One of the old houses I lived in, right outside of Addicks Dam, in high school, had a flat, virtually a flat roof, and it was done like this. It had like volcanic rock and asphalt base up on the top. It was a very low sloping roof. I think it sloped maybe a ½ inch per foot, and then insulation, and then the sheetrock, the 5/8 inch sheetrock for the ceiling went up against it like that. There are a lot of houses along Memorial Drive around Town and Country, older ones that were like that. That was a big architectural design back in the day. But a flat roof's really not flat. You got to get that water off. When located between the roof deck and the roofing membrane, the thermal insulation may be in the form of lightweight insulating concrete fill. Shelton Greer was an old company here in town that specialized in lightweight insulated concrete. They'd mix perlite with lightweight concrete for the insulated decking. Is it as good as insulated rigid board? No, it's not. It gave some structural integrity, but the best thing to do is then, if you're going to do a built-up roof like this, do a good rigid thermal insulation. You'd glue it down with asphaltic cement, come in with your roofing membrane, and then and the roofing membrane may be your final roof. A big elastomeric, thick rubber type of basically it's a carpet that you lay down with overlap, and you just roll it out on asphaltic cement, and that's when they come back with those wear pads. The building owner does engineered wear surfaces to go service the mechanical stuff on the roof. All right, built-up roofing systems. I think this is probably. Let's go ahead and kill this video here, and we'll pick up built-up roofing systems with video 7.2. How's that?